Hello everyone, welcome on board today on our domestic service today, going from Helsinki-Vantaa International Airport to Ivalo up in Lapland. We are currently on stand 1 in Helsinki, and we'll be taking the Airbus A321 by Fenix up to Lapland. Now let's get our preliminary flight systems and aircraft powered up. So we'll go to the overhead panel. I'm using my Stream Deck currently to control the overhead panel and the features of the aircraft, as well as my Windwing glare wind panel, glare shield panel with my autopilot control as well as the EFIS, as well as my Windwing NCDU panel. I've ordered a mini overhead panel by a new producer from Poland, and I will link that down for you guys if you're interested in potentially getting yourselves a mini overhead panel for your aircraft sim. So that one on, that two on, and there we go. External power. We'll start with the pumps going online. We're slightly of a shorter turnaround time right now. Get our lights on, get signs on, as well as the emergency lights, and then we'll go to our aiders, number 1, we'll do number 2 and number 3. Perfect. And then switch off our view to flight plan, and I'm going to switch on, start off by switching on all of our VORs on both sides, switching from 1 and 2, and then we'll do constraints from both sides. Wonderful. For now, I think these are just standard warnings. We can cancel those, and let's go on to our flight plan. We'll import it from SimBrief. There we go. And I've actually connected a new printer that I bought from eBay. That's a standard POS printer that now sends all of my weight as well as my ACARS information through that printer. Is connected. I'll link that for you as well and do a video a little bit later. Wonderful. We'll start with the mass imbalance. We'll do GS exporting. So today we're carrying 160 passengers.
Please don't load aircraft until the fuel truck arrives and ask to do it.
I hate those. I hate when GSX does these messages, but there's no use finding them. So we got currently our zero fuel weight at 64.7 tons, as well as our MAC zero fuel weight currently looking at 25.8.
Catering vehicles are on their way.
So let's bring our flight plan in here. I'm using currently today, I've been trying to experiment with the layouts of the OFPs from SimBrief as of late, to just give it a go and see what happens. So far, I think the EasyJet one is the most coherent one. Yesterday I tried, I think, British Airways, and today I'm trying the Lufthansa layout, because Finnair doesn't have there's no Finnair layout for the configuration of an OFP. So let's
Fuel truck is in position. Please don't load aircraft until the fuel truck arrives and ask to do it.
Wonderful. Great. Sorry, I was looking at the stream that everything was fine. So, let's get our plan going. So currently, as said, our zero fuel weight is going to be 64.7 tons. We're looking at a takeoff weight, a planned takeoff weight of 71.9, which is perfect, and our landing weight currently is showing to be 68.0. But even at the takeoff weight, if we look at our maximum limited landing weight, so should we have an emergency that is recurring at the beginning of the flight and we're heavy, we're still underneath our maximum landing weight, so we're not landing heavy. We're looking at a cost index of 50, which seems quite high, but we'll start inputting the system. So let's start with the init page. Today our flight number is Finnair 55 Tango. So we'll start with that, 55 Tango. As said, our cost index, let's just put 15. Cost index is 15, and I believe our cruise level today is going to be flight level 360. So let's just look at that in the flight plan. Yep. Wonderful. Flight level 360. We'll put 360 here. We can start going on to, let's go iris init, align on reference. Yep. And then we'll bring our winds. We'll request our wind. Right, we got data there. And now input our zero fuel weight and CG. So we got 64.7 tons with a CG of 25.8. And our, as said, our fuel in tank load today is going to be 7.4 tons. I think our fuel usage is going to be 3.8 on this flight, this leg of the flight. So let's go back to our MCDU menu, and we'll go to ATSU, AOC menu, and I'll start by recalling whether at both destinations. So we'll start with Helsinki, and we'll get the METR information, send that off. Then we'll do another request, and we will do Ivalo, EFIV, and we'll do METR again. Send, request those out. Amazing, and then we'll do our ATC request. Let's first go into our radios and we will tune into our ATIS service, which is today going to be on channel 135075.
Aero 19er, density altitude -300 feet, transition level 55, arriving and departing runways 04 right, 04 left. Advise on initial contact, you have information my. Helsinki-Vantaa Airport, information my. 1120 Zulu, wind 010 at 10, cav OK, temperature 12, dew point -5, QNH 1019er, density altitude -300 feet, transition level 55, arriving and departing runways 04 right, 04 left. Advise on initial contact, you have information my. Helsinki-Vantaa Airport, information my.
Great, we got information mic. And we're going to be stand 2-1.
Boarding requested.
And we'll just type request IFR clearance. There. Aircraft type is A321. And we'll just put station 0780 and we'll send that off. And the next thing we're going to go do, we're going to go down to the load sheet. Nope. I'm going to go to the load sheet here. Then we'll accept the load sheet. Okay, we got our pre-departure clearance there. In the meantime, we can start setting up our route. So we're going to go to our flight plan here. We got QNH1019. Currently, that's current. And we got our ATC clearance. Let's go back down. We'll send that off. Wonderful. So I now got my departure and our arrival weathers, as well as our clearance. So set our altitude to initial 6,000 feet. Okay, meters on to the screens as well. And we're going to be squawking today on
Passengers boarding
1547. So we'll go into write that out. The one annoying thing I find is that for some reason the flap settings as well as the speed brake settings are on max when you start, and annoyingly it will start extending them if you don't notice in the beginning, which is just happened. So we're expecting runway 4 left. So let's go into our primary display here, appear in our departures. We're going to do 4 left. And we're going to be doing the standard Tever for Zulu departure. So that's inserted now. And I believe our arrival into Ivalo is going to be, let's have a look at the plan is going to be 22, so we're going to be landing on a 22 today. ILS goes ILS 22, and it's going to be with the Sutit 3 Bravo arrival. There we go. Wonderful. So, as some of you might know who have flown to Helsinki before, or who are familiar with the procedures, some people may not know, Helsinki uses a lot of noise abatement as well as making sure that there is minimal noise pollution.
Helsinki, clearance, delivery. Good afternoon, Simulento 1218 requesting clearance.
While I grab the paperwork.
So if we're going to our charts here, so let's pick up
Simulento 1218, information mic is current. Cleared to stirrup via the Nunt 5 Charlie departure runway 4 right. Initial climb to 5,000. Departure on 119.1 squawk 1451.
just trying to work out where is Teveru. There we go. as we can see here.
Simulento 1218. Clear to Malmö, Sturup. Runway 04 right, Nunto 5 Charlie departs, climb to 5,000 feet. Departure frequency 1100.1, squawk 1451.
Simulento 1218, read back correct.
Wonderful. So, as said, we're going to be taking off towards the northeast. And we're going to do that on a track of 037. And we're going to go to point HK416. Turning then left to 351 to Lulab. And we have a speed restriction of 250. So we want to make sure. Let's go into our
Helsinki ground
system
Finnair
here.
112 tree with golf request taxi for takeoff departure to the west.
So let's go back. Lulab. Of course, we're supposed to be looking at the pop-up. Sorry, apologies. So there we go. Again, this time we're going to Red Bow. So double checking that we're in the system. Finally found the chart. There we go. Again, yeah. So, we are looking at, taking off from runway 04 left, on a track again of 037, and then we're going to turn to a radial of 341, going to temp route at HK903. We're constrained to 230 knots at max. So we are going to be, however, we're at 173 at that point, so that's fine. Lovely.
Helsinki ground, Simulento 1218. Stand Whiskey 42, requesting push and start.
Simulento 1218, taxi to runway 4 right via Alpha Tango, Victor Kilo, Zulu, Zulu Sierra.
So we got a minimum gradient climbs of 5% to 4,000 feet, but we're going to up to 6,000. So we're going to be most likely we're going to be using a higher temperature setting today to get higher climb before we take off, so that we avoid noise abatement in the surrounding areas of Helsinki. So we're going to be, again, I'm going to write it on flight plan here, block of 7.4 tons. And if I go into my plan performance page of takeoff dispatch, looks like we're going to be doing a full thrust takeoff today, which is not that standard, but for noise abatement reasons we're going to be doing toga, and we're going to be using packs on. That's fine. Loading sync sheet, we're doing flaps 1 calculated. So our speeds are 144, 148, 151, and that's with our transition level of 5,500. Flaps 1 up, 0.6. And we're not using a flex temperature today, as we're doing a toga takeoff. So I'm just cross-referencing now. We got our final load sheet now the aircraft's loaded. Slight difference in our weights. Zero fuel weight. So we're gonna go back to init. We're gonna go fix that. So we're gonna instead input a 65.4, and a takeoff CG remains the same. There we go. Wonderful. So let's go to performance page, and we'll input our takeoff data. And we'll start with a V1 speed of 144. We'll do a rotate speed of 148. And a V2 speed of 151. And we'll do transition level of 5,500. Flaps 1 up 0.06. And as said, since we're doing a toga takeoff, we don't need to input a flex temperature today. Whilst we're still on the ground, we'll look at the arrival weather into Ivalo. So the current 11 Zulu weather currently, and let's put that into there. We can fix it once we get closer. Is 210 at 12, 210 at 12 knots. A QNH of 1020, temperature of 11, and most likely, because our weight permit, we're most likely going to be a flap 3 configuration, and then we can already set, since we're on an ILS configuration, of a radio of 200, but then again, I'll forget, we don't want to put that just in yet. Amazing. So, we're good to go. We'll just leave it on the performance page for now. And let's do a quick cycle of our flight plan here. Just double check that everything looks good. Taking off to the north. We're having a northwest heading here for a majority of the route, and then we're going to go slightly northeast and starting descent just before Sotit. Do LPET, and then do a downwind approach via Nevat, Kudis, and then Arvel, and straight into runway 22, and on a missed approach, we're going to climb to 3,500. Cool. So as there's no significant weather reported, engine out operations all seem good, and we are not super heavy, so and we have suitable airports throughout the whole journey, so we are not worried. The current weather in Rovaniemi seems pretty decent as well. Rovaniemi is one of the largest airports in the northern hemisphere, so we have adequate runway clearance if need be on alternate airport, and there's no segment there either. So double checking on our trip time today is 1 hour and 25 minutes. Actually need to go back to our flight plan here. We'll do AOC menu and we'll do flight init, and we'll get our AOC init. There we go. And we're good to go. Running about 10 minutes late currently, so we might want to get a move on. We'll put the head tracking on. There we go. And then we'll turn our beacon on. Looking like a good day for a flight. Apologies, one thing I do need to do, we should have checked this before I started the live stream, is it does put my volumetric clouds somehow on low level, so we want to bring those up. Also, so far for those who have followed my channel before, I've just installed a brand new RTX 4060 Dual EVO OC, and this is one of the first flights that I'm doing with them. And so far, it has been really good. So, let's go on to our ground, and we'll request a pushback clearance. And we're using Say Intentions ATC AI. So far, I've really enjoyed it. Tried using the live ATCs before. They're slightly intimidating. So for some reason, because my headphones aren't the greatest, I don't fancy using that. So let's go. And Helsinki ground Finnair 55 Tango with information mic stand 21 requesting pushback and start clearance. Oh. It's saying that our ATC Intentions app isn't connected for some reason. There we go. Always fails when you need it most. Let's try again. And Helsinki ground, good afternoon. Finnair 55 Tango, stand 21 with information mic. We are requesting pushback and start clearance.
Finnair 55 Tango, pushback approved, face northwest. Attention all aircraft, information November is now current. QNH 1019er.
Finnair 55 Tango is cleared for pushback and start. We are facing northwest. Right. And now, let's go to TSX. And we are, let's do preparation for pushback and start. We'll go outside real quick to double check how we're doing.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
So one thing we need to actually do here is turn on our APUs on, and doing a star switching now.
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
There we go.
Locking gear.
And there we go, the APU starting. We're gonna do nose to the right and tail to the left.
Release parking brakes, please. Release parking brakes, please.
And here we go. And we are off about 10 minutes late, so our pushback time is 12. Try to make up some of that time once we're in the air. Right. Start switch on. And engine number 1. Start switch on.
Säkerhetsbroschyren i storskickan framför er innehåller också den information om flygsäkerheten som vi snart är på engelska. Men ni får gärna fråga oss om ni vill ha.
Please set parking brakes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to take you through the flight safety procedures and explain the use of safety equipment. Please observe the following instructions.
Ennen lähtöä haluamme kertoa sinulle lennon turvallisuuteen.
Unlocking gear.
Istuintaskussasi olevassa turvaohjeessa on esitelty samat turva-asiat, jotka kohta esittelemme sinulle englanniksi.
Hello everyone. Before departure, we kindly ask for your attention as we go through the safety features of this aircraft.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
Comfort on board. You must always follow the instructions
Left
given
is
by
clear.
our crew.
Right is clear.
For your safety, you must comply with all posted placards and lighted signs in the cabin. You may use smartphones and other handheld electronic devices during the flight, but we ask you to ensure that they are set to flight mode from gate to landing. You may switch to normal mode after landing. All other electronic devices must be switched off and stowed for both takeoff and landing. If your electronic device overheats, let our crew know immediately. All our flights are non-smoking, and under aviation law, smoking is forbidden in the lavatories. This also applies to electronic cigarettes. You'll find the safety features of this aircraft in the safety card located in your seat pocket. We kindly ask you to take a moment and review the important information on the safety card before takeoff. We have 8 emergency exits on this Airbus A321. They are all marked with green and white exit signs. 2 in front, 4 in mid-cabin, and 2 in the rear. To find your nearest exit, follow the escape lights at floor level. Please pay close attention to the location of your nearest exit, keeping in mind that it may be behind you. Your safety belt must be fastened during takeoff, landing, and whenever our captain switches on the safety belt sign.
Right. We are now ready for taxi, switching the engine switches, just our switches back to normal. Go back to the overhead panel here, and we can take off the AP lead, master switches, and then what we'll do is we'll turn on our taxi lights and runway turn lights. And we have double checked our flight controls for the cabin side, so let's do that again. We'll set auto brake max, and then we will also arm our spoilers. Flaps are set 1, and slats are set number 2. Full up, full down, full left, full right. We'll do full left, full right. We'll go back to our ACAM and do our takeoff config test. Wonderful. Just waiting for the cabin to give us a heads up that they're good to go. So let's request taxi clearance to runway 04 left. It's going to be a long one since we're going to be taxiing for Terminal 1 all the way to the very end. So we're actually probably the furthest we can be from the departure runway. Helsinki ground, Finnair 55 Tango. Facing northwest, requesting taxi to runway 04 left.
Finnair 55 Tango, taxi to runway 04 left via Alpha Delta, Zulu Delta, cross runway 22 left, then Papa Delta, Delta, Whiskey Whiskey Zulu.
Great. Pull up the map in just a second as well, so I can show. Finnair 55 Tango is cleared to taxi to runway 04 left via Alpha Delta, Zulu Delta, cross runway 22 left, and then Papa Delta, Delta, Whiskey Whiskey Zulu, Finnair 55 Tango. Great. So let's go back to our map here and go here. We'll do ground charts. Don't need the briefing document. We need. There we go. So. As said, we are currently in facing northwest on stand next to stand 2-1. So we'll be taking Alpha Delta. We're gonna switch on to here to Zulu Delta. So we're gonna be taxiing right here, over here, and then crossing 22 left, Papa Delta. And then we're switching over to. Here we go. Delta, and we'll go Whiskey, backtrack on Whiskey, and then Whiskey Zulu. Simple enough, a long taxi. So, releasing parking brakes here. Slowly increasing some power here. Shaping out to be a beautiful day in Helsinki today. It'll be a nice day to fly to Lapland. So a little bit about the airport add-ons that we're flying on today. Helsinki-Vantaa Airport actually doesn't have a paid supported super ultra real payware airport add-on. This is actually from flightsim.to, and it, for an airport that's free and you don't have to pay anything, it does the job. I am, however, looking forward to seeing if a payware one of Helsinki will become available at some point. I do have the airports for like Stockholm, Oslo, Tromsø, Trondheim, and then Oulu, as well as another freeware which is Ivalo. I mostly fly around Central Europe, not too much in Scandinavia. Obviously, I live in the UK, so I love to fly the busy routes of the UK. But I do really enjoy the scenery, like just the scenery of Scandinavia, and the kind of remoteness of the effect is actually quite nice whenever you do like an approach somewhere very far up north over the North Pole. It's wonderful to see and experience. And also some of the local airports, such as Ivalo, or I'm sorry, like Kajaani, for instance. There's airports that don't have manned air traffic control towers. We have air control services, but usually it is a limited service. So upon approach, you switch over to the general radar and inform aircraft of your landing intentions as well as takeoff intentions. So it does create a nice challenge sometimes. And now that Sea Intentions is improving their flight models and interfaces, it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen in the future in terms of the realism. As said, it's a long taxi to runway 04 left. Most of the departures always happen on this runway. However, they usually happen towards the other direction. So usually the standard takeoff runway for Helsinki is runway 22 right. And then most approaches usually occur on 22 left, as well as sometimes 22 right, and predominantly on runway 33. So approaches usually happen from a lot of the time happen coming inbound from north. So you do pretty much a circle and a downwind approach, and that's to avoid having to fly low approaches on top of central Helsinki and avoid the noise pollution effects that might come into play at that point. So we'll just bring the cabin. We'll turn our wing lights and we'll strobe full and nav number 2, and we'll do landing lights on. I gotta say, it's the new GPU has been absolutely wonderful. I know there were some people who were worrying that I was bottlenecking my CPU. So far, I've had no issues with that thus far. And I can definitely see a massive difference in my flight experience. Like currently looking at my FPS rate, which is 55. Previously, I was barely getting 30 with all the add-ons and hardware that I had connected to my computer. So it's doing a massive bump. GPU currently is running at between 77 and about 83%, which is, again, fantastic. And FPS rates, as said, over 50. CPU is running slightly higher than before. That's to be expected, and I'm not really fussed about that. I do use additional freeware like the MSFS Auto FPS. That is a really good one. And I have also tried lossless scaling. It didn't really work as great on my previous GPU. I think it was maybe a little bit too much, but I haven't tried it on this one yet, but we'll give it a go sometime in the future. Great.
Finnair 55 Tango, contact tower on 119.7.
Switching over on 119.7, Finnair 55 Tango, thank you. Now let's switch radio channels. Helsinki Tower, Finnair 55 Tango, good afternoon. On Whiskey Zulu, holding short runway 04 left, ready for departure.
Finnair 55 Tango, Helsinki Tower, runway 04 left, winds 360 at 10, cleared for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 04 left, Finnair 55 Tango, thank you. Wonderful. So, final checks. We got ECAM, takeoff no blue, takeoff speeds are set, double checked, and everything seems good to go. So we'll just do a roll takeoff. No need to stop. Slightly over there. Put our chrono on, and we'll hold it, and max power set. Check the speed alive. V1, go rotate. Positive rate, you can gear up. Lights, and then we'll disarm speed brake. And we'll start with an immediate turn to the north, again, to avoid the adjoining areas, which are straight ahead of that runway.
Contact departure on 119 or decimal 1.
Switching over on 119 decimal 1, Finnair 5 Tango, thank you. Departure, good afternoon, Finnair 55 Tango with you, direct HK 903, climbing 2,800 for 6,000 for departure. And we'll reduce noise once we get past 4,500.
Helsinki radar, identified.
We'll go autopilot number 1.
Helsinki radar, climb flight level 230.
A little bit windy. Finnair 55 Tango, climbing flight level 230. Right, now we'll switch our pressure gauges to standard. And there we go. And now we're somewhat sacrificing altitude for speed, or climb rate for speed, so we're now trying to capture 250 knots. And as we can see here, we are now going direct Tevru, which is the transition out of our standard instrument departure. And we're, let's zoom out a little bit more. Here we go. We're flying first towards a little bit northwest over the coastline, and there you can see on the left side of the PFD on that screen is going to be Sweden. And we're pretty much flying over the west coast of Finland, over around where Aslop is right there. Is going to be the city of Oulu, another massive city. So, God forbid if there's any issues, let's say with Rovaniemi, and we need to divert from Ivalo, then Oulu there's always another option, as it is a big airport with standard emergency services, and we can now go and take our landing lights off, and if we go to the cabin,
Climb flight level 280.
get our seatbelt signs off. Finnair 55 Tango, climbing flight level 280, thank you. And there we go. Right, I'm gonna switch off my voice for just a little bit and let everybody just enjoy the views and the flight itself. And once we get a little bit closer to descent, and we request the latest weather and information of the airport, and return back with my very, very dull commentary. Everybody join.
Climb and maintain flight level 320. Climb and maintain flight level 360.
779.
Finnair 55 Tango, Helsinki Control, identified. Good afternoon.
Alright everyone, welcome back. We are now just over the city of Oulu, right here, which we are passing on our right side. There you can see the city of Oulu, and we currently have about 42 minutes remaining flight time. To make up a few more minutes, we managed to pull up about 3 minutes back. I increased our cruising speed to Mach 0.81, and currently we have flight time distance remaining of 249 miles, and our end of fuel balance is going to be 3.4 tons, which is more than enough for our purposes. So let's speak to Helsinki Control that we just got switched over. Helsinki Control, good afternoon. Finnair 55 Tango with you. Expecting the Celtic 3 Bravo arrival. We copy descent in 15 minutes and requesting the latest ATIS for Ivalo.
Helsinki Control, identified. Expect a 33 Bravo arrival. I'll call your descent in roughly 18 minutes. Just say the word if you'd like to start down earlier.
Finnair 55 Tango requesting airport terminal information service for airfield Echo Foxtrot India Victor.
Ivalo Airport, information Echo 1250 Zulu. Wind 195 at 11. Okay. Temperature 12. Dew point -4. QNH 1020. Test altitude 0 feet. Transition level 55. Arriving and departing. Runways 22, 26. Advise on initial contact. You have information. Echo.
Finnair 55 Tango copies information Echo and QNH 1020. So, now that we are getting closer to the descent point, we can actually go back to our permanent flight displays here. So, the waypoint Nepix is actually the entrance towards the approach fix for Rovaniemi, which is EFRO, which is our alternate, and the airport there. EFRO is one of our alternates. Another suitable alternate that we have is EFKT, which is Kittilä, another fairly large airport. So we got loads of suitable alternates around, and obviously we got Tromsø in the northwest heading of 320. Anyways, let's concentrate on the task at hand. We're expecting an approach, well, descent, I would say roughly in about 110 miles. So let's start looking at the chart for arrival. Let's start with the charts first. Arrival. There isn't really any significant portions of terrain. It's fairly flat around the area that we're discussing. as you can see, like the only rates that we need to be kind of looking at is here on the southeast corner of the airport. However, our approach isn't going there. We're going through Sotet here, which is at 10,000 meters. It's more than 6,000 and up. We're doing a backtrack approach, so to speak. So we're doing downwards, flying past the airport, flying via Elpit, then Nevat, and then finally at Kudus. We should be doing the final intercept for the approach. And then after that, we are just expecting with Ivalo, which should be somewhere around here. And then we got the runway approach mix there. So nothing out of the ordinary there. If we go to our flight computer here, if we look at once we arrive to Kutus to intercept Ivalo and the approach mix, we'll be entering into a standard 3 degrees descent, and that will be done with the managed mode, so nothing to note there. In the case of a missed approach, we are looking at a missed approach climbing on track on 212, which is runway heading. I'm flying to Quebex and climb to flight level 3,500, and then continuing on another approach here, which is back to Sotet. Great. So let's go back to our flight computer and we'll do arrival here. Let's see, any NOTAMs. ATC will give descent clearance, that's fine. Airport elevation 482, nothing really there. Altitude level speed constraints must always be followed, unless explicitly cancelled by ATC. Yep. And all the stars are of minimum noise rules. Yep. Because I believe, if I'm correct, Ivalo is right around here, the city, so we'll be making sure that we don't cause too much noise pollution around here anywhere. And as we said, we'll do ILS 22. So, once we intercept, once we go from Nevat, which is at 3,500, again, 3,500 here, and that's when we intercept the -3 degree slope, as we can see here, and that's Ivalo. So Kutus will descend to Ivalo to 2,400, which is our final descent altitude before we start our final approach here. And we got mile mark 42, and then obviously intercepting the runway itself. As to say, we do most likely, I'm expecting no special instructions in terms of ATC. So we I have put that into our flight management computer here. I'm going to put 200, which is the standard one. Transition level is 55. That's copied. And we're looking at winds of, I believe, let's double check again, 195 at 11, which is manageable. The runway is long enough, so we should be able to do the descent. Starting descent in about 8 minutes. And we'll do our final speed calculations then as well. Looking at our end of fuel balance here, calculated for 2.6 tons as we're now approaching NEPIX. Great. So we'll look at NEPIX, which is 3.4 tons. And if we go back to the center console here, look at our fuel balance 4.0. That's great. We're actually using less fuel than estimated. So we're currently about plus 600 kilograms. That leaves us more than plenty still. If there's any issues, I'm going to run it instead. Right, turning back here, flight plan and does this mostly absolutely great products. Only bit of qualm I have with I have to wait a second. It does this sometimes. Yep. Only qualm I have with it is that the app sometimes is slightly annoying. Sometimes it does this, so it's just hard to break offs for sake of reason. As said, absolutely great products, but the app is left desired for more improvements. I do apologize, everyone. I keep having to reopen and close my WinWing app because for some reason my MCDU isn't screen isn't coming up.
Clear. 33 Bravo. Arrival to Ivalo. When you're ready, descend and maintain flight level 060.
Because we got descent clearance now. However, we have no MCDU on the screen. MCDU on volume. There we go. I only had to reboot my whole MCDU. Now let's start our descent. Finnair 55 Tango, descending to flight level 060 via the setup 3 Bravo arrival. And descend. To be fair, we can actually let this manage speed to be right there. Getting a speed error at Netherlands, so let's go ahead and look at that. 259, let's see what this is at. Netherlands max 240, yep. So, let's fix that 240 dash. Do a double check again. So it's erased itself here. 200, so QNH 1020, temperature 11. Winds blowing out 195 at 11. So we got a slight tailwind element here. We'll do flap 3 configuration with a warp speed of 1.4. Now let's do our calculations here. So, we're looking at a landing weight of 68.0. So that's well below our limits. Flat So our landing distance available is almost 2,500, and our completed distance required is going to be 1.6, and with a additional 1.5 distance required, 1,890. That takes us well below and gives us at least 700 meters left, so within the safe limits. Now, with that being said, we can landing on 3. One thing I've noticed that's slightly irritating is that if you're just almost par with glide slope with Fenix, it will start complaining for some reason. So I usually just put the glide slope off on the GPWs just to make sure that there's no oral warnings that start getting quite irritating. Start getting quite irritating. So, that being said, descending nicely through Lapland here. If we pull up the airport map here, Kittilä is actually on our right side here. So we're looking at right around here, this area. And another very popular skiing holiday destination for Finns and Europeans alike. So just doing final glances at the flight plan here. I'm going to look at our landing and remarks from dispatch. So firstly, let's set brake medium. That's set. And now we move to the flight plan here. So we'll go to there we go. So now I'm looking at the second, which is light landing dispatch plan, performance landing calculations, and we're selecting flap 3. Performance limitation landing weight today is 77.8, but as said, our landing weight is currently at 68, which is almost 10 tons less. And wind factor, H009, that's fine. Now, interesting. Looking at our calculations here, runway condition wet. So let's take that into consideration here. We're still within our limits. I don't see any reason why we couldn't do a flap 3 landing at the airport, and performance isn't. So we got anti-ice off, we got packs on, temperature 11, QNH 1020. Nothing to worry in terms of here. Maybe let's look at the same. Temperature 12, QNH 1021, 3, wind conditions fine. Position, which is good. Let's move into our weather. It gives us here, which is calculated previous speed. It's 2 knots around 13 knots, so slightly increase, which is good. Cavoke, that's fine. Yep. Nothing to know either in it's already even less than so we are all set here. Helsinki approach Finnair 55 Tango requesting latest information on runway condition at Echo Foxtrot India Victor. We have remarks on our flight plan that says runway condition wet. We are requesting latest check on the runway conditions, please, for runway 22.
Runway 22 at Ivalo is currently dry. No wet conditions reported.
This is where it usually gets slightly interesting, is because that they will always say it's dry, but our flight plan says wet, and I'm not 100% sure which one the Microsoft Flight Simulator weather is going to apply there. So you can see the lake way in front of us. That's going to be one that is on our maps, and is in front of Ivalo Airport, so we're getting closer. Descending nicely on the managed mode. We'll turn our seatbelt signs in just a few minutes. Right, I'm gonna go back to the MCA one last time. Go our AOC menu will do their request for Ivalo. One last one. Send that over, and then we're gonna do one last one for also everybody in, just in case. Descent. Right, and we got latest reports of winds is now 200 at 11. Cap okay, temperature's 12. QNH still 1020. And now we're looking at Rovaniemi winds 2007, that's fine. Cap okay, and just 13, QNH 1021, and good. Nothing to report there. As well take a look quickly on ground charts. So once we get to Ivalo here, set runway 22 with my estimations, most likely I have to go back to, we'll have to go back to Providence, we'll have to do a backtrack, so most likely we're going to be ending up pretty much stopping here. I'm going to try to see if Aviation is big enough to do a 180 taxi to Bravo, then back to gate. What we'll do now is, ahead of time, planned, wait, and we'll do parking 3. You also want to make sure that we free that from AI, because that gets really annoying sometimes. I don't know why sometimes it does this, where it just kind of lags. Anyways, let's go back to our overhead. Turn our landing lights on here, and we'll do our nice little cabin view once we turn our seatbelt signs on here. Our announcement. Right. Just got another notification phone. ATC. Nope. All good. Helsinki approach, Helsinki to control Finnair 55 Tango, descending 7,500 to 6,000 on the approach for ILS 22. Still over 3,500. Finnair 55 Tango switching over to Ivalo Tower on 118.0. Ivalo Tower, good afternoon. Finnair 55 Tango with you on the approach. Waypoint Nevot for Kutis on the approach for ILS 22. Maintaining 6,000.
Finnair 55 Tango, Ivalo Tower identified.
Finnair 55 Tango, maintaining 6,000 feet, requesting further descent.
Finnair 55 Tango, descend altitude 3500.
Descending flight level 3,500. Finnair 55 Tango, thank you. Now we can increase speed slightly to make up some space here between our descent profiles. Currently 13 miles off the airport. There we go. What we'll do is we'll arm approach and roll autopilots. Now we can take speed down again. So we should be capturing, yeah, glide slope and localizer alive. Wonderful. And we got airport 7. And Ivalo Tower, Finnair 55 Tango, established on ILS 22. We have runway in sight. Okay, do flaps.
Finnair 55 Tango, wind 185 at 11. Runway 22, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 22, Finnair 55 Tango. There we go. Two down.
2,500.
Lights on. We do flap 3.
Cabin crew, please be seated for landing.
Wonderful. And landing checklist. Landing no blue. Slightly windy. As expected.
2,000.
Manual here. Conditions here is a lot more wintry than I expected at the beginning. That's the fly here. A lot more snow. I guess that's the appeal of it, isn't it? And we've got Mr. Approach altitude set at 3,500. Stabilized. Slightly high. And final checks, cabin, ready, and landing.
$1,000.
Stable.
$500.
400. 100 above. Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 5.
Speed brakes. Reverse green. Diesel. Manual brakes.
Finnair 55 Tango, welcome to Ivalo. Taxi to terminal via Echo Tango, monitor this frequency.
Echo Tango monitoring frequency, and we are stand 3. Finnair 55 Tango. There we go. And there we go. Welcome to Ivalo.
Finnair 55 Tango, taxi to terminal via Echo Tango, monitor this frequency.
Taxi to terminal via Echo Tango and monitoring frequency Finnair 55 Tango.
Hyvät matkustajat, pyydän teitä vielä hetken aikaa istumaan paikallanne turvavyö kiinnitettynä, kunnes vastaava merkkivalo on sammutettu. Olette varovaisia avatessanne matkatavarahyllyjen luukkuja, ettei tavaroita pääse putoamaan. Kiitoksia kaikille ja tervetuloa uudelleen. Toivotamme teille oikein mukavaa loppupäivää. Mina damer och herrar, jag ber nu sitta kvar på era platser med säkerhetsbältena för att spända tills ljusskylten har släckts.
APU running now. It's a short taxi to the terminal. It's a lovely add-on scenery, I gotta say.
Carefully to prevent items from falling out. We hope that you have enjoyed this with the former flights. We look forward to having you as our guest soon again. Thank you, goodbye, and have a very nice evening.
That will be stand number 5. Stand number 4 there. I need to double check again that we're not getting free this from AI. Stand number 4 is there. And then we have stand number 3, which for some reason now is taken over by AI again. There we go. And we're done. Welcome to Ivalo. So thank you everybody for joining on this live with us today. I will do a little bit of a landing review, post that as a short onto YouTube so we can have a look what it looks in different perspectives. But for now, thank you for watching, and hopefully everybody have a wonderful Sunday.